Welcome to tonight's peaceful escape, where the gentle rain and soothing whispers of the wind invite you to leave the world behind. I'm so glad you've joined me here, in this cozy corner of calm. Before we drift into the magic of the story, take a moment to settle in. Perhaps you're nestled under your favorite blanket or lying back in a comfortable chair. Let your breath slow, your mind quiet, and allow the soft sounds of the rain to wash over you. Tonight, we journey to a village where the rain holds ancient secrets, and where the healing touch of the alchemist offers more than just magic. So, take a deep breath, relax, and let the story of the Raindrop alchemist guide you into a peaceful night of rest. All you need to do is listen and let go. In the quiet valley of Avalon, the rain never ceased. Some days, it arrived as a fine mist, curling through narrow cobblestone streets like a whisper of the past. Other nights, it fell in silver threads, weaving soft lullabies against rooftops and rippling through puddles that mirrored the warm glow of lanterns. The villagers had long grown accustomed to the endless drizzle. They moved beneath woven canopies and oiled cloaks, their boots tapping against damp stone, their voices hushed as if in conversation with the rain itself. Here, the sound of falling water was not merely background noise. It was a rhythm, a presence, a storyteller that had existed long before the first house was built. At the very heart of the village stood a small, time-worn shop, its wooden sign darkened by decades of rain. The carved letters, though softened by the passage of time, still held their name, Elias Thorne, Alchemist of Rain. The shop was unlike any other in Avalon. While bakers filled the streets with the scent of honeyed bread and cobblers mended shoes damp from the morning's walk, Elias worked with something far more elusive. He captured the magic of the rain. Inside, the shop was warm and dimly lit, the scent of aged parchment and dried herbs mingling with the damp, cool air that followed each visitor through the door. Shelves lined the walls, stretching from floor to ceiling, each holding delicate vials of enchanted raindrops. Some shimmered like captured moonlight, others swirled with the deep hues of twilight. A few pulsed faintly, as if breathing in time with the storm outside. Elias had spent a lifetime gathering these drops, waiting for the right storm, the right moment, to bottle each whisper of the sky's memory. Some raindrops held fragments of forgotten dreams. Others carried the echoes of lost voices. And then there were the rarest of them all, raindrops that, when placed upon the tongue, could reveal a past long buried. On this particular evening, Elias sat at his work table, turning a small glass vial in his hands. The raindrop inside shimmered with an ethereal glow, shifting colors like a reflection glimpsed upon the surface of a river. A memory drop, collected not from an ordinary storm, but from a night when the rain had wept for something lost. Elias listened to the rain pattering against the windowpane. It was speaking to him again. A visitor was coming. Someone seeking a truth hidden in water. He exhaled softly, setting the vial aside. Visitors were rare these days. Most villagers came only for simple tinctures, drops that eased restless sleep, raindrops that softened grief like mist fading at dawn. But this storm, with its deeper, heavier rhythm, was bringing something different. Someone different. And so, as the fire crackled gently in the hearth and the rain continued its endless lullaby, Elias waited. Waited for the stranger who would step through his door. Waited for the story the rain had already begun to tell. The bell above the shop door chimed, its soft ring swallowed by the steady hush of the rain. Elias Thorne lifted his gaze from the parchment before him, his ink-stained fingers pausing mid-thought. The fire crackled gently, sending shadows flickering across the stone walls, but his attention was on the doorway. There, framed against the silver veil of falling rain, stood a traveler. They did not step forward immediately. Instead, they lingered at the threshold, letting the damp night air curl around them, as if uncertain whether to enter. Elias had seen many visitors over the years, villagers in search of dreamless sleep, wandering souls seeking drops to stir forgotten loves, even the occasional scholar chasing the whispers of the past. But something about this traveler was different. Their cloak was heavy with rain, its edges frayed from long miles. Beneath the hood, a pair of storm-gray eyes peered out, shadowed yet searching. Elias did not speak at first. He simply waited, as he always did, letting the silence stretch. Finally, the traveler stepped inside, the door swinging shut with a soft click behind them. A few stray raindrops trailed in their wake, darkening the wooden floor. For a moment, only the sounds of the shop filled the air, the gentle bubbling of a potion on the back table, the soft clinking of vials as the rain outside tapped against the glass panes. Then the traveler exhaled, lifting their hood. "I was told," they said, voice quiet yet firm, "that you collect the memories of the rain." Elias studied them, his gaze steady. "I do." The traveler hesitated, then reached into the folds of their cloak, producing a small leather pouch. They placed it carefully on the counter, the weight of it light, yet heavy with unspoken meaning. "I need a raindrop," they murmured. "One that can restore lost memories." Outside, the storm deepened, as if listening. Elias did not move right away. Instead, he let the words settle, weaving themselves into the quiet rhythm of the room. "Lost memories," he echoed, his voice low, thoughtful. The traveler's fingers tightened slightly on the wooden counter. "There is something I should remember. Something important. But it's gone, like mist burned away by morning light." They lifted their gaze, meeting his. I need to know what I have forgotten. Elias's expression remained unreadable, but there was something in his eyes, something knowing, something older than words. Finally, he turned. His hands moved along the shelves with practiced ease, fingers brushing against glass vials that hummed with hidden echoes. He reached toward the highest shelf, where a single vial sat nestled among the others, glowing faintly with a light that was neither silver nor gold, but something in between. He placed it before the traveler. Inside, a single golden raindrop shimmered, its surface rippling as though stirred by an unseen breeze. "This," Elias said, "is a memory drop, collected on a night when the sky mourned something forgotten." The traveler stared at the vial, something flickering in their expression, hope, hesitation, a quiet yearning. They reached out, fingers grazing the cool glass. "Will it show me what I've lost?" Elias nodded, though his voice remained gentle. "Memories do not return all at once. This will show you a glimpse." The traveler swallowed, then, with a deep breath, they uncorked the vial. The raindrop lifted, weightless, and as it touched their skin, the world shifted. A rush of warmth, a scent like earth after rain, a whisper of laughter carried on the wind. Then, a voice, faint yet familiar, calling their name from somewhere far, far away. And just as suddenly, the vision vanished. The shop returned. The fire crackled softly. The rain tapped at the windows as if nothing had happened. The traveler staggered slightly, their breath unsteady. "I heard someone," they whispered. "I saw," they shook their head, pressing a hand to their temple. But it slipped away before I could reach it. Elias watched them carefully, his expression unreadable. "The rain does not give answers," he murmured. "Only doors. The rest, you must find yourself." The traveler looked down at the empty vial in their hand, their thoughts a storm of questions. But deep in their heart, a memory had stirred. And the rain was not finished whispering. The traveler sat in quiet contemplation, their fingers tracing the edges of the empty vial. Though the vision had lasted only moments, it had left an imprint, like the outline of a footprint in the damp earth, proof of something once there, now only half remembered. Elias watched from across the room, his weathered hands carefully sorting dried petals into an earthenware bowl. The soft crackle of herbs breaking beneath his fingertips blended seamlessly with the gentle drumming of the rain. "You saw something," he murmured, not as a question, but as a knowing statement. The traveler nodded slowly. A voice. A feeling. Like I was standing somewhere familiar, but distant, like looking through fog. They exhaled, eyes flickering to the vial once more. I thought the drop would give me a full memory. Elias gave a small, thoughtful hum. Memories are not stones, solid and unchanging. They are water, fluid, shifting. One drop is never enough to fill an ocean. The traveler frowned slightly, the lines of their forehead etched with frustration. Then how do I find the rest? Elias said nothing for a long moment. Instead, he turned, stepping toward a wooden cabinet at the far end of the shop. The doors creaked as he pulled them open, revealing shelves filled with glass jars, each containing something curious, delicate silver threads coiled like strands of moonlight, tiny bottled echoes that pulsed with the hum of distant voices, and vials of raindrops in every shade imaginable. But Elias reached for only one. A small bottle, no larger than a fingertip, filled with a droplet so dark it shimmered like the sky before a storm. He held it between his fingers, turning back to the traveler. "This is no ordinary raindrop," he said softly. "It was collected during a night when the rain fell heavier than ever before, when the village itself seemed to mourn." He set the vial gently upon the counter between them. The traveler's gaze flickered between Elias and the bottle. "What does it do?" Elias exhaled, choosing his words carefully. "Most raindrops capture glimpses, fragments of what was. But this holds a memory so strong, so deeply rooted, that it does not fade like mist at dawn." The traveler's fingers hovered over the vial, uncertainty creeping into their expression. "Whose memory is inside?" Elias's eyes, shadowed with old knowledge, met theirs. "That I cannot say. The rain chooses what it remembers." The traveler swallowed, the weight of possibility pressing against their ribs. Then, with steady hands, they uncorked the bottle. The raindrop shimmered, weightless, rising from the glass as if drawn by an unseen force. And then, it touched their skin. A rush of sensation flooded their senses, the scent of wet earth after a storm, the sound of a bell chiming in the distance, the feel of warm fingers intertwined with their own. Then, a name whispered on the wind. Arinder. The traveler's breath caught. The name curled in their mind like smoke, clinging, refusing to fade. It was familiar. It belonged to someone. But who? The vision wavered, shifting like ripples in water. A marketplace, lanterns swaying in the evening breeze. A bookshop, its windows fogged from the warmth inside. A promise made beneath the shelter of a great oak tree, where raindrops clung to golden leaves. The images blurred, the echoes of laughter and whispers overlapping, until suddenly, like a candle snuffed out, it was gone. The traveler gasped, their fingers gripping the wooden counter as the shop around them slowly came back into focus. The fire in the hearth crackled softly. The rain continued its endless song. Elias studied them carefully. You remembered something. The traveler pressed a trembling hand to their chest, heart still racing. A name. And they closed their eyes, searching. A promise. I think someone is waiting for me. Elias nodded solemnly. Then the rain has begun to lead you home. The traveler lifted their gaze, determination settling in their features. I need more. More drops, more memories. I need to know the truth. Elias's lips curved into the smallest hint of a smile, as if he had expected this all along. The rain is patient, he murmured. But it will only show you what you are ready to see. He turned toward his shelves once more, hands moving among the vials of glistening storm water. Somewhere beyond the shop, the rain whispered secrets to the rooftops, to the rivers, to the quiet valley of Avalon. And as the travelers steadied themselves, they knew one thing for certain: this was only the beginning. The storm had softened to a gentle mist by the time the travelers stepped outside. The village of Avalon shimmered beneath the glow of lanterns, their golden light reflecting in the endless pools of rainwater that gathered between cobblestones. The scent of damp earth and distant firewood filled the air, mingling with the quiet murmur of water trickling through narrow channels carved into the streets. The traveler pulled their cloak tighter, the memory still pulsing in their mind like an ember refusing to fade. Irinder. The name felt ancient and familiar all at once, like a word from an old song long forgotten but never truly lost. Who was he? They turned back toward Elias's shop, where the warm glow of the alchemist's lantern still flickered behind the rain-slicked window. He had given them another vial, a smaller one, filled with a single raindrop so clear it seemed almost invisible. This drop, Elias had said, will not give you a memory. The traveler had frowned. Then what will it do? Elias had studied them for a moment, the firelight reflecting in his steady gaze. It will lead you. Now, standing beneath the vast gray sky, the traveler carefully uncorked the vial. The raindrop shimmered, weightless, and then it lifted into the air. Like a fallen star reversing its descent, the droplet drifted forward, carried by an unseen force. It moved not aimlessly, but with purpose, gliding just above the rain-washed ground, guiding the traveler forward. They followed, boots splashing softly against the stone path as the droplet led them past familiar streets, past the baker's shop where the scent of fresh honeyed bread lingered, past the old well where ivy curled around the worn bricks. And then, beyond the village. The traveler hesitated at the outskirts, where the path turned from cobblestone to damp earth, winding between towering oaks and willows that swayed with the whisper of the wind. Few ventured beyond the edge of Avalon. The forests beyond were old, older than the village itself, some said. Paths led to forgotten ruins, to places where echoes of the past still lingered. The raindrop continued forward. The traveler took a breath and followed. Underscore 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 underscore. The path was quiet except for the soft patter of rain upon leaves and the distant calls of night creatures stirring in the undergrowth. The deeper they walked, the more they felt something stirring in the air, as if the forest itself was waking, aware of their presence. And then, the raindrop stopped. It hovered above a worn stone archway, half hidden by creeping ivy. Beyond it, a narrow path led into mist and shadow, winding towards something unseen. The traveler stepped closer, fingertips grazing the weathered stone. It was cold, damp from the rain, but beneath that, there was something else. A pulse. Like the faintest heartbeat beneath the earth. Something had happened here. Something long ago. A memory, waiting to be found. Carefully, the traveler stepped through the archway. Underscore 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 underscore. The forest beyond felt different. Not unwelcoming, but heavy with the weight of time. The trees stood taller, their branches woven together like silent sentinels, their roots twisting through the damp soil like veins of an ancient body. The traveler moved slowly, the air thick with the scent of moss and rain, their footsteps barely making a sound. And then, a whisper. It was not the wind. It was a voice. Faint, carried through the mist. A name, spoken just beyond the traveler's reach. Erinder. Their breath caught. The name was here. He was here. Or at least, his memory was. They pressed forward, heart thrumming, each step pulling them towards something on the edge of remembrance. And then, they saw it. A clearing, hidden deep within the forest. At its center stood a stone pedestal, covered in ivy, its surface glistening with raindrops. And resting upon it, a single, golden leaf. The traveler stepped closer, pulse quickening. There was something familiar about this place, something just beyond reach. They reached out, and the moment their fingertips brushed the leaf, the world shifted. A rush of warmth. Laughter, distant yet near. A flicker of golden light, like autumn sunlight dancing through the trees. And a voice. This time, clear. You promised you would find me. The traveler gasped, stumbling back as the vision faded. The clearing was silent once more. But inside their heart, a truth had been revealed. Arinder was waiting. Somewhere. And the rain would lead them to him. The mist that clung to the forest gradually lifted, the air growing clearer, though still cool with the presence of rain. The traveler stood at the edge of a river, its water flowing silently between moss-covered rocks, the surface shimmering as the droplets from the sky met its ripples. The path they had followed, marked by the stone archway and the mysterious golden leaf, had led them here. The river's song filled the air, a soft, lilting sound that was somehow both ancient and new, as if the river had been singing its tune for centuries, waiting for the right moment to be heard. The traveler gazed at the water, entranced by the way it moved, undisturbed by the rain, as if it had learned to flow through time itself. This river, they felt, held memories, too, ancient ones, flowing silently beneath its surface. The raindrop that had led them here had vanished, fading into the mist as they entered the clearing. But in its place was something else, a pull, gentle yet firm, drawing them closer to the river's edge. Without thinking, the traveler stepped forward, the soft soil giving beneath their feet, the earth cool and damp. The sound of the water was louder now, almost as if it were calling them, urging them to listen, to follow. The rain began to fall heavier, but there was something soothing about it now, as though the world itself were joining the song of the river. As they approached the water, the traveler's eyes caught something, a faint glow beneath the surface. It was a light, not like the moon's reflection or the spark of a firefly, but a soft, steady radiance that seemed to pulse with life. Cautiously, the traveler knelt by the riverbank, the cool mist brushing against their face, and reached out. The water felt smooth, almost like glass, as their hand skimmed across its surface. The glow danced beneath their fingers, teasing them, leading them to a spot where the river curved and deepened. The voice from the past, Arinder's voice, whispered in the back of their mind once more, "You promised you would find me." The promise seemed to resonate in the air, as though the river had been waiting for it. The traveler's heart quickened. Was this the moment? Was the river, like the rain, a path, one leading deeper into a forgotten past? Taking a deep breath, they stepped forward, sinking into the cool water until it reached their ankles. The river's current was gentle, but there was a current of something else, a sense of urgency that tugged at them, as though the river itself were urging them to move faster. They waded deeper, the water rising to their knees, then their waist, until the current pulled them onward, moving with a force they could not resist. The song of the river grew louder, as if it were guiding them towards something. And then, suddenly, the world seemed to shift. The mist thickened, swirling around them, and for a brief moment, the traveler could not tell where they were, whether they were still in the river or somewhere far away. The rain, too, seemed to shift, the droplets falling in patterns that weren't like rain at all, but something more, something woven from dreams. A vision. A scene unfolded before them, a small boat, drifting along the river, its sail billowing in a soft breeze. The travelers saw themselves in the boat, though their reflection was not clear, blurred, like a half-remembered dream. Beside them, another figure, tall, with dark hair that swirled in the wind, their face obscured by shadow, but the presence unmistakable. A name, soft but insistent, whispered from the boat's edge. Erinder. The figure beside them turned, and in that moment, the traveler knew it was him. It was Erinder, the name that had echoed through their mind since they first uncovered the memories in the rain. But this time, they felt the connection. It was real. They were here. The vision blurred as the boat drifted farther down the river, the mist swirling around them, but one thing remained clear. The sound of the river, the song it sang, was a melody that had led them here. The current was not simply moving water, but time itself, pulling the traveler towards something that had been lost and forgotten. Suddenly, the vision fractured, like a glass pane breaking under too much pressure. The river's song grew fainter, and the traveler stumbled, reaching out to steady themselves. The world around them snapped back into focus, the mist parting as the river's surface calmed. But the glow beneath the water remained, beckoning. It was no longer a distant light, it had grown closer, revealing its source. The traveler looked down, their heart skipping a beat. There, tangled in the roots of an ancient tree that arched over the riverbank, was a small, weathered box, its surface covered in moss, but its edges gleaming faintly with an otherworldly light. It was as though the river itself had kept it hidden, waiting for the right moment. The traveler reached down, hands trembling as they pulled the box from the water. The glow faded as soon as it left the river, leaving only the soft sheen of rainwater upon the worn wood. With careful fingers, they lifted the lid. Inside was a small, silver locket, its delicate chain entwined with the roots of the tree, as though the forest had been protecting it for centuries. The locket was cold to the touch, but as the traveler held it, something stirred inside them, an unspoken recognition, like the faintest memory just beyond their reach. The name came to them once more, not as a whisper, but as a solid truth. Erinder. The locket opened with a soft click, revealing a small, folded piece of paper inside. The paper was worn and fragile, as though it had been carried by the river for years. Carefully, the traveler unfolded it. There, written in a script they had not seen in years, was a single line: "You are the river, and I am the rain." The traveler's breath caught in their throat as the weight of the words settled upon them. It was a promise, just like the one spoken beneath the golden leaf. And then, as the rain fell softly around them, the traveler understood. The path had been leading them here all along, to this moment, this connection, this memory. The river had been singing for them, and the song had not been forgotten. They were closer now. Arinder was close, and the rain would guide them all the way. The locket was warm in the traveler's hands, its silver surface glowing faintly beneath the soft light of the rain. The rain, which had once been a mere backdrop to their journey, now seemed more like a living presence, guiding, urging, and now, perhaps, ready to reveal its deepest secrets. The traveler had not expected this. The memory, the connection to Arinder, it was like a fragile thread pulled from the depths of time. Yet now, it pulsed steadily in their hands, the weight of the locket grounding them in a truth they had long forgotten. The river beside them murmured its song, its currents still steady but more deliberate now, as though acknowledging the traveler's discovery. The traveler stood for a long moment, staring at the locket. Inside, the faint script still shimmered in their mind. "You are the river, and I am the rain." They felt an overwhelming surge of longing, a yearning to understand, to know who they had once been, to know the story of the rain and the river, of the life that had been woven into them long ago. Arinder was not just a name. He was a part of this journey, a part of the traveler. The pieces were beginning to fit together, but the picture was still incomplete. With a deep breath, the traveler closed the locket, placing it gently into the pocket of their cloak. They could feel the warmth of it against their chest, a steady presence, like a heartbeat. They began to walk once more, following the river's course, the water now a quiet companion on the journey. The rain began to slow, the soft patter against the leaves above becoming a lullaby. And though the world around them seemed calm, the traveler felt the weight of something stirring deep within, a recognition that had been hidden for far too long. And then, the forest opened into a clearing, bathed in the silvery light of the waning storm. The river stretched before them, winding into the distance, its course hidden behind the rolling mist. But something new was there now, standing like a quiet sentinel at the river's edge. A figure. Tall and framed by the mist, they stood with their back to the traveler, gazing out across the water. The traveler's heart skipped a beat. Arinder. The figure was turned away, but the traveler knew. The locket, the river, the whispers, everything had led them to this moment. The mist seemed to part, as though acknowledging the meeting, and for a moment, the world felt still, waiting. The traveler stepped forward, their voice barely a whisper. "Arinder?" The figure turned slowly, and for a moment, the traveler could see only the outline of a face, pale and shadowed, framed by dark hair that swirled gently in the breeze. Then, as if the mist itself had pulled away the veil, the figure's features came into focus. Arinder. His eyes were the color of the storm, the same storm that had brought them together, that had bound their fates through time and memory. His gaze met theirs, and in that moment, everything that had been hidden fell away. The weight of the years, the distance between them, and the uncertainty, all of it vanished, replaced by a profound recognition. Arinder smiled softly, a smile that seemed to carry both relief and sorrow, as if he had been waiting for this very moment. "You came," he said softly, his voice a low, familiar murmur. "You finally remembered." The traveler's breath caught in their throat. I remember you. But I don't understand." Arinder nodded, taking a step closer, his presence both grounding and ethereal at the same time. "You were always meant to remember, traveler. This rain, this river. They were never just paths. They are memories, fragments of a life once lived." A quiet stillness enveloped them, the only sound the soft whisper of the rain. "But why? Why have I forgotten?" Arinder's gaze softened, and for a moment, he seemed to look beyond the traveler, his eyes distant as though seeing something only he could perceive. "The rain has a way of washing things away," he said, "but it also brings them back. The river carries all things, memories, hopes, even love. And sometimes it carries the things we need to find." The traveler's heart tightened as they stared at him. "And what is it we need to find?" Arinder smiled, his eyes glistening with something unreadable. "You came here because you were lost. But what you have forgotten is that you are not just a traveler, you are part of this place. The rain, the river, the village, they are your home, too." The travelers shook their head. "I don't understand. How can I be?" Arinder placed a hand over their heart, gently pressing against the fabric of their cloak, where the locket rested. "It's in your heart, just like the river. In time, the memories return. And when they do, you will remember who you were. Who we were." The traveler felt something stir within them, a warmth that spread from their chest outward, filling them with a sense of belonging they had never known. The rain continued to fall softly, but now it felt like a part of them, as natural as breathing. But why the rain? Why this place? Arinder stepped back, his gaze never leaving theirs. "The rain doesn't wash away memories, traveler. It calls them back. It invites you to see the world again, as it once was, and as it always will be. And for those who listen closely, like you, it brings them to the truth. The traveler's mind swirled with all the questions that had no answers, all the doubts that still clung to them like the mist. But one thing was clear, the memories were returning. Slowly, like drops of rain, but they were returning all the same. "I remember," the traveler whispered. "I remember being here before." Arinder nodded, his expression softening. "Yes, you have always been here. You are the rain, and I am the river. We are one, together, in time and in memory." The traveler's hands trembled as they touched the locket again, the silver cool against their skin. It was as though the weight of the world had been lifted, yet there was still more to discover. And with that, the traveler realized, it wasn't just the memory that was returning. It was the journey. The path had always been there, hidden beneath the rain, waiting to lead them back to who they truly were. And now, the rain was ready to tell the rest of the story. The rain had begun to slow, each drop growing heavier with meaning as it fell, soft and gentle. The mist that had once clung to the riverbank now lifted, allowing the moon to shine through, casting silver beams across the world. The air was cool and crisp, the scent of earth and water mingling in the quiet calm that followed the storm. The traveler stood by the river, their hearts still racing from the encounter with Arinder. The words he had spoken echoed in their mind, like a song they had always known but had forgotten over time. You are the rain. You are the river. Together, we are one. But what did that truly mean? How could they be the rain? How could they be the river? The questions lingered, but now, there was no fear, no uncertainty. Only the quiet pull of something much deeper, something ancient and eternal. The rain, the river, the memories, it was all tied together in ways they were only beginning to understand. Arinder's presence remained, though he had stepped back, standing quietly by the water's edge, his gaze fixed on the horizon. His silhouette was barely visible against the pale light of the moon, but his voice, when it came, was steady and calm, like the rain itself. "The rain is a gift," Arinder said, his tone distant but filled with a quiet reverence. "It carries more than water. It carries time. It carries memories, hopes, and dreams. It is both the past and the future, ever-changing and ever-present. And for those who listen, for those who understand, it offers its gift." The traveler turned toward him, their hearts swelling with something they couldn't quite place. It was a strange mix of longing, awe, and peace all at once. "What gift?" Arinder smiled softly, his eyes glinting in the moonlight. "The gift of knowing," he said. "The rain calls to us, offering us what we need. It washes away what we no longer need and reveals what we've forgotten." The traveler looked down at the river, watching as the water rippled, the current flowing steady and unhurried. It was a sight they had seen countless times, yet now, it felt different. The rain no longer felt like an inconvenience or a backdrop to their journey. It felt like a presence, like something alive, something that had been with them all along. The travelers' fingers brushed against the locket once more, still tucked safely inside their cloak. They could feel its warmth against their chest, a steady reminder of what had brought them here. It was more than just a piece of jewelry. It was a key, a symbol of the bond between them and the rain. And now, it seemed to pulse with a gentle energy, as though urging them forward. They reached into their cloak and pulled the locket from its hiding place, holding it in the palm of their hand. The silver surface shimmered softly, and for a moment, the traveler could have sworn they saw the faintest movement within the locket, as though it were alive. "Irinder," the traveler whispered, their voice barely audible over the soft rush of the river. "What do I need to do? What is this gift?" Irinder's gaze softened, and he stepped closer, his voice quiet but filled with certainty. "The rain has given you the gift of memory, the gift of time. Now, you must choose what to do with it. The river will carry you forward, but it is you who must decide how to move." The traveler's heart raced. They could feel the weight of his words, the gravity of the moment pressing in on them. The rain, the river, Irinder, they were all part of the same dance, the same story, woven together by the flow of time. "Choose," the traveler repeated, their voice thick with uncertainty. "How do I choose?" Irinder smiled again, a quiet, knowing smile. "Listen to the rain," he said. "It will guide you. It always has." The traveler looked up at the sky, watching as the last of the rain fell, each drop glistening in the moonlight before disappearing into the earth. The air was still now, the world quiet in the aftermath of the storm. But the rain was still with them, in the soft earth beneath their feet, in the river that flowed beside them, in the air they breathed. The traveler closed their eyes, focusing on the sound of the water, the sound of the rain, the sound of their own heartbeat. And then, as if by magic, something shifted. It was subtle at first, a soft sensation deep within, like the brush of a memory long forgotten. Then, clearer, images began to surface, flashes of scenes that had once been locked away. Faces, places, moments of joy, of sorrow, of love. The rain seemed to wash over them, each drop revealing a new piece of the puzzle, a new thread in the tapestry of their past. The traveler gasped, feeling the memories flood back. They saw themselves as a child, standing at the edge of the river, laughing as the rain fell around them, their mother's voice calling out from the house. They saw their first encounter with Irinder, the first time the rain had whispered to them, the first time they had felt the call of the river. They saw the moments that had shaped their life, the decisions, the regrets, the joys, and the losses. It was all there, like a flood of images, flowing through their mind, carried by the rain. And then, as quickly as it had come, the flood of memories slowed. The images faded, leaving behind a quiet sense of peace, a clarity that had not been there before. The traveler opened their eyes, blinking in the moonlight. The world around them seemed unchanged, yet everything felt different. The rain was no longer just a backdrop to their journey, it was a part of them. It was their past, their present, and their future, all woven together in a single moment. The gift of the rain had been given. And now, the traveler understood. Raindrop stood beside them, watching the transformation with quiet approval. "You have remembered," he said softly. "And now, you are free." The traveler felt a weight lift from their shoulders, a burden they hadn't realized they were carrying. They were no longer lost in the mist of forgotten memories. They were whole, once again. The rain had given them the gift of knowing, the gift of understanding their place in this world, of understanding their connection to the river, to the rain, to everything. And in that moment, the traveler knew their journey was not just about finding the past, it was about creating the future. The river flowed beside them, steady and unchanging, as the rain fell softly around them. The world was quiet now, the storm gone, but the traveler felt no fear, no uncertainty. The rain had washed it all away, leaving only peace. The journey would continue, but now, the traveler walked with the gift of the rain, the gift of memory, the gift of self. And the river would always be there, flowing beside them. The moon hung high above the village, casting its soft glow across the land as the traveler stood at the edge of the river. The night air was cool and fresh, carrying the scent of rain-drenched earth and the promise of another storm. But for the traveler, the rain no longer felt like a mystery to solve or a burden to carry. It felt like a friend, a constant companion, whispering its secrets through the wind. The locket nestled warmly against their chest, the silver gleaming faintly in the pale light. It had become more than just a key to forgotten memories. It was a symbol of the journey they had undertaken, the wisdom they had gained, and the truth they had discovered. Beside them, Raindrop stood silent, his gaze steady as he watched the river flow. The storm had passed, but the rain still clung to the world, as though it were reluctant to leave. "You have come far, traveler," Raindrop said, his voice quiet but filled with warmth. "Farther than you know." The traveler nodded, their heart full of the quiet understanding that had grown inside them since the first drop of rain had fallen. "I've learned so much," they whispered, almost to themselves. "But I still don't understand everything." Raindrop turned to face them, a soft smile on his lips. "You've learned the most important thing of all," he said. The rain doesn't reveal all of its secrets at once. It is patient, just as you must be with yourself. The magic of this place, of the rain and the river, it is not about answers, but about becoming. Becoming a part of something much larger than you can see, something that is always changing, always flowing. The traveler looked out over the river, watching the water twist and turn, winding its way toward the horizon. The river was ever moving, its course never fixed, just like their own journey. And yet, it felt as though the river had always been here, always flowing in the same way, even as it changed with each passing moment. "Where do I go from here?" the traveler asked, the question rising within them like a quiet echo of all the paths they had walked. "What do I do with all of this?" Irinder's eyes softened, and he placed a hand on the traveler's shoulder, a touch both grounding and gentle. "The rain has given you the gift of memory, of understanding. But now, it is time for you to find your own path. The legacy of the alchemist is not one of answers, but of possibilities. The potions, the magic, they are not just about curing what is broken. They are about creating, about healing, about discovering the world in all its complexity." The traveler looked down at the locket once more, the silver still warm in their palm. "And the alchemist's legacy? What is that?" Irinder smiled, his gaze distant as though seeing the echoes of time. "The alchemist's legacy is not bound by time or memory. It is the gift of transformation. Just as the rain transforms the land, just as the river shapes the earth, the alchemist's work transforms the very nature of being. The legacy is not a thing to possess. It is something to carry, to pass on." The traveler nodded, the weight of Irinder's words settling deeply in their heart. "So, my journey isn't over." Irinder shook his head gently. "No. It has only just begun." The traveler stood in silence for a moment, the sound of the river mingling with the quiet rustle of leaves in the breeze. They felt the magic of the rain all around them, not as something distant, but as a part of them, flowing, shifting, and ever-present. "I think I understand now," the traveler said, their voice calm but filled with newfound clarity. "The rain, it's not just about remembering. It's about creating. It's about moving forward." "Exactly," Irinder replied. "The rain brings memories, but it also brings the future. It is the beginning and the end, the past and the present. It is a cycle that never ends, just as your journey will continue, always moving forward." The traveler smiled softly, feeling the weight of their understanding settle into their bones. "I think I'm ready." Irinder's eyes sparkled with a quiet pride. "Then go, traveler. Go and find the world that awaits you. The alchemist's legacy will guide you, just as the rain will always find its way to the river." With a final nod, Irinder turned and began to walk toward the village, the shadows of the trees casting long lines across the path. The traveler watched him go, feeling the deep sense of peace that came with knowing their journey had reached a new stage. But they also knew that the road ahead was still unknown, still unfolding in front of them, like the river flowing into the distance. The traveler turned back to the river, watching the water sparkle in the moonlight. For the first time, they felt a sense of belonging, a sense of unity with the land, the rain, and the river. They were not alone in this world. The rain had always been with them, and now, it would always be a part of them. With a deep breath, the traveler began to walk toward the village, the soft murmur of the river at their back. The rain had given them everything they needed: memories, wisdom, and a sense of purpose. And now, it was time to carry that gift forward, to continue the journey and pass on the legacy of the alchemist. The legacy of the rain. The legacy of transformation. And the journey of becoming.